come on, Dad. Hey guys, it's dclaiche, and today I'm going to be reviewing Doctor Who Series 14, Episode 7, The Legend of Ruby Sunday. I feel like reviewing this episode by itself is a little unfair because it's only the first part in a two-part story, but we're going to go ahead and do it anyway. Of course, the great thing about two-parter episodes is that a significant amount more character work can be done, and more themes can be initially set up that for a payoff later on. And I think in this episode we see a tremendous amount of character work done in terms of the Doctor in regards with his relationship with Susan. Kate Stewart, in her appreciation of the Doctor. I really liked Kate Stewart in this episode, honestly. She's growing into her father's shoes pretty well, I'm not gonna lie. I actually really like her. We got Ruby's relationship with her mother, and we also got the whole character of Susan Triad, who's apparently just this wonderful, tremendous person, despite the fact that she's trying to sell something that affects the whole world again. And it's like every other person that we've seen so far that's been trying to do that has been some sort of nefarious, terrible person, but no, she's just like, oh, I made this thing, and like, it'll be cool. Like, I want to share it with people. I don't even really remember what her company was selling. I'm not even sure. I think it's just like straight up computers or technology or something like that. I do know that Unit uses her products at some point. So yeah, there's that. I will say that one character that I can say didn't really get a lot of character work done in this episode, despite being there, was Rose Noble, who's back, and, you know, I'm happy to see her back. I think Rose is kind of cool, but I was a little disappointed that she didn't have that much of a role, which, you know, maybe it'll be expanded a little bit in part 2, but, you know. I also kind of question, like, how is she qualified to work for Unit? Like, I understand that they now have a scientific advisor who's a 13-year-old, but that's just because he's like a child prodigy genius type of person or whatever. It's like, yeah, isn't Rose like 16? Like, yeah, she knows a doctor, or her mom knows a doctor, but like, is that the only qualification for being allowed to work at Unit? Like, goodness. Also, speaking of Morris Gibbons, yeah, he receives a great deal of attention in this episode. He gets to be the science whiz kid, and he's cool, I guess. They seem to be running through scientific advisors at Unit pretty quickly. Yeah, what the heck happened to Shirley Ann Bingham, guys? Where's she at? Now, as for the story, this episode seems to act, obviously, mostly as a setup for things to come, being the first part in a two-part episode. The Doctor has finally decided to look into the identity of the old woman that he keeps on seeing everywhere he lands, and he thinks it could be his granddaughter, Susan, who he's afraid to see again because he doesn't want to endanger her again by involving her in his life. So yeah. Also, an interesting detail about the Doctor's relationship with Susan is revealed in this episode. Apparently, the Doctor hasn't had kids yet. Basically, Ruby is like, okay, well, if you have a granddaughter, then that means you have kids. And the Doctor's like, well, the things kind of happen out of order when you're a time traveler. So that's got me thinking, like, does he have kids yet? Like, who has he had the kid yet that becomes the parent of Susan? Is that something to come into the future? And if so, like, how does the first Doctor know that Susan is his granddaughter? Like, and also, didn't the 10th Doctor at one point basically imply... No, the 10th Doctor and the 12th Doctor, I think, they both implied that they've raised kids before, or they said, I've been a father once. No, it was the 10th Doctor. Yeah, he specifically said, yeah, I've been a father before. So yeah, I don't know what this is. I don't know what the order of all this stuff. Timey-wimey, gross. I don't get it. But yeah, that's weird. Is that another part of the Doctor's story that the toy maker just made a jigsaw out of? Like, come on. Honestly, the whole people really liked the whole jigsaw thing with the toy maker because it allowed them to get rid of all of the things in Doctor Who that they didn't like, not realizing that means they can throw a whole bunch of other stuff into the past of the Doctor that we don't like either. So I don't see why people liked that idea. Anyway, none of this stuff matters anyway, because it turns out that Susan Triad is not the Doctor's granddaughter. She is instead a harbinger of the one who waits. And there are apparently more than one of those harbingers. It looks like Harriet Arbinger, who's set up in this episode, who's introduced in this episode. She's one of the harbingers. And it also appears that Mrs. Flood might be. It's not clear that Mrs. Flood is specifically an arbinger of the one who waits, but I guess we'll have to see in the next episode. We don't see her in the Death Eater looking death mask or whatever, so I guess we don't know for sure who she is. And of course, in this episode, we finally have the reveal of the identity of the one who waits. And it did this by first having Ruby's mother in the time window point in the direction of the TARDIS, and then when the TARDIS disappears, a weird substance starts showing up. They realize that this weird substance is this weird entity is intimately connected with the circuitry of the TARDIS, and that's apparently what's been causing the TARDIS to make all those groaning noises that we've been hearing the TARDIS make these noises since Wild Blue Yonder. Also, I really want to say I really like the shot of the TARDIS in Unit HQ when they're like, there's something ominous and wrong with the TARDIS, and it's just they I don't know how they did it. They shot it in such a way to where they made the TARDIS look very, very imposing and intimidating, like it's this massive obelisk that's just kind of staring at you. And it's just like, man, making the TARDIS scary is... Ooh, that's a roller coaster ride. And of course, through the mouth of Harriet and the multiple screens that are in Susan Triad's studio, the identity of the one who waits is revealed to be Sutekh. My immediate reaction was literally to, out loud, in shock, basically just say his name. Sutekh! Which... I'm pretty sure probably really confused my parents and my brothers, who probably heard me. But man, does RTD know how to really do a dramatic reveal of an old Doctor Who villain that you thought everyone forgot about. So of course, immediately after watching this episode, I had to go back and watch The Pyramids of Mars, which is the fourth Doctor story where Sutekh makes his first appearance. And I had to get completely caught up on who and what Sutekh was. So I think I'll just go ahead and give you sort of a description of who Sutekh is, at least from the description of the Pyramids of Mars. Sutekh is an Osiran who was trapped and immobilized in the Eye of Horus 7,000 years before 1911, which is when the fourth Doctor episode, The Pyramids of Mars, took place. He is a being of unmatched power, who can never be allowed to escape his prison, as his ultimate goal is to destroy all life in the universe, leaving nothing but himself, or as Sutekh himself so eloquently puts it,
your evil is my good. I am Sutekh the Destroyer. Where I tread, I leave nothing but dust and darkness. I find that good.
In short, Sutekh is the Doctor Who universe's god of death, and he appears to be out of his prison and integrated with the TARDIS now. So that's not good. Now, how he got himself linked with the TARDIS, I have no idea. I'm assuming they're going to reveal that in the next episode. At least I kind of hope they do. But what I do know is that the way the Doctor defeats Sutekh in the Pyramids of Mars, he takes out, like, a part of the TARDIS. I think it's called, like, the time column or something like that. I don't remember the exact name of it. I only saw the episode once. And he basically uses it to trap Sutekh in his little prison for another 7,000 years, or however long it is. So Sutekh is still in his prison, which we also still don't really... It's not really clear where that prison is in the episode. Is it on Mars? Is it in Egypt? I never really understood that. But it could be the case that when the Doctor tried to use that part of the TARDIS in order to trap Sutekh, that Sutekh somehow found his way into that part of the TARDIS, and the Doctor brought it back in, and Sutekh infiltrated the TARDIS, and he's been there ever since the fourth Doctor, I guess.
Editing Alex here. Sutek was not trapped in his prison again. He was thrown into the time vortex, and I know that now because I watched the Empire of Death episode. So yeah, there's that.
But now, of course, he's out, and I have absolutely no idea how the Doctor is going to get this one done. But you know he's going to. I also very much look forward to the resolution of Ruby Sunday's story. Who is her mother? Who is she? Who's Mrs. Flood? Like, really, who is Mrs. Flood? Is she another Harbinger? Is she Susan? Is she Susan? That would be interesting if she was Susan. Also, I didn't put this in my notes, but RTD revealed in I think one of the little things with the Doctor Who podcast, it was like, there's going to be a very, very nice lady on a far distant planet who has exactly what is necessary to defeat Sutek. And I'm just like, Susan? Is it Susan? They've name dropped Susan enough in this season and in this episode that I'm just like, well, it would be really anticlimactic if they didn't at some point soon, maybe not in this next episode, but at some point soon, bring back Susan. I suppose we'll just have to wait and see, which for me isn't that long because the episode comes out probably tomorrow at this point for me. Today's Thursday, so it probably comes out tomorrow for me. I know it comes out on a Saturday, but it comes out on a Saturday in Great Britain, which means it probably comes out a little earlier for us here in America. Overall, this episode was an excellent setup, worthy of the man who wrote Utopia, The Sound of Drums, The Last of the Time Lords, The Stolen Earth, and Journey's End. Somebody who's... RTD is just somebody who can write a really good cliffhanger. I cannot wait to see how this one is going to be resolved. Hopefully not with a really lazy Deus Ex Machina. Although they are dealing with actual gods in this episode, so I guess we'll see.
Camera cut off again, and I thought I recorded an outro for this episode, but it turns out I didn't. So here's editing me again, saying that is going to be it for my review of The Legend of Ruby Sunday. Please come back next time for the conclusion episode, The Empire of Death. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Please come back next time for another video for you from me. And this is dclaiche saying goodbye.